Camera number 452 is a Lordomat produced by the German company Leidolf. I do apologise if I've mispronounced that. Quite happy to be corrected. Around about the 1950s these cameras were produced. It seems from a little bit of research I've done, they seem to have had some connection with Leica, and whether that had an influence on the production of these cameras that they produced, not for a huge amount of time, but here's an example, and a very good example actually, of this particular camera in really good condition. It was donated to me, and so let's dig in and have a look at the camera. Just before we do go into the details, I noticed when I took the half case off, we have a sticker from Wallace Heaton, London, and you may have noticed in a previous video I've actually got a couple of their brochures, or their sales brochures, and so I had a quick look. So here we have the 1958-59 Blue Book from Wallace Heaton, their sales book, and if we have a look, we in fact find here, let me just get in a bit closer, the Lordomat standard, and a little bit of information there. 35mm camera with coupled rangefinder in one eyepiece with viewfinder, and interchangeable lens, rapid film winder with 4-component f2.8 Lordomat coated color corrected anastigmat in Prontor SVS shutter, XM synchronized, accessory shoe, film and depth of field indicator, double exposure prevention, body die casting, leather covered, chrome trim, all for the princely sum of, in England, £44, 2 shillings and 8pence, which, if we run that through the Bank of England converter, we arrive at £900 by today's standards. However, just 1 year later, I also have the 1959-1960. If you'd have waited just 1 year, the Lordomat, which is here, is now dropped to £36, 18 shillings and 2pence, or 2pence, and that equates to about 750. So you could have saved £150 if you'd have waited just 1 year. So maybe there's a salutary lesson there for us to have our cameras. Maybe just waiting a little bit yields good results. So let's go through some of the features of the camera. As I mentioned, it's a 35mm rangefinder. There's the rangefinder window, and so when you look through the viewfinder, you see this little patch in the middle of the viewfinder, and the idea is that you have a ghost image, and the idea is you bring the two images together, or similar. I think it's actually, technically it's kind of just below it, and then you've achieved focus. But of course you can use a guessometer. You can guess which distance. As mentioned, this one features the sort of standard lens, kit lens if you like, of f2.8 50mm Lordomat. And as mentioned in the blurb from Wallace Heaton, the camera features a opportunity to change lenses, and the way we do that is the ring here, where I'm pointing, can be rotated. There we go. And then we just undo it and take that off. And then if we have another lens, I understand they did produce a few lenses of their own brand, but you'll notice there's a pin on the lens, and that fits into the pin recess here on the actual lens. It's a leaf shutter, Prontor SVS. Okay, and the lens is in quite good condition, I must say. No fungus or marks on it, so that was nice. So put the lens back in, locate the pin, and pop that in. There we go, that's nicely seated. And then we just turn and lock. So it's a breech, I suppose you'd call that, a breech mount. Well, we've got it here. You can see the focus ring. You can see the aperture ring is on the outside, f22 to f2.8, and then our focus ring. and etched into the bottom of that lens is a depth of field scale, so that we can line up. If we choose f8, we know exactly what's going to be in focus, either end, close and far away. The shutter speeds go from 1/300th of a second all the way down to bulb, just here. And then we have, there's a cold shoe, so there's a flash synchronization port there. And then round the other side, our choice of electronic flash or flash bulbs. And there is a lock button just there. Let's see if I can zoom in, which you have to press in, and then you can rotate or slide that dial. There's also a tripod, sorry, not a tripod, a cable release there. And then finally we have our shutter actuation button. So one of the things I like about the Lordomat series is the fact that they're a double stroke camera. Again, whether that's the Leica influence perhaps, but it's not the usual mechanism where you go from the back of the camera out. It's the other way around. You go from the outside and go into the camera. It takes a bit of getting used to, and then you can actuate your shutter button. Do make sure, just a word of caution here, to put the mechanism for choosing flash on M. That allows you to use the camera in normal mode. V, I believe, is a self-timer, and on this particular camera it doesn't work very well, so I had a bit of a panic mode, but was able to get out of that situation by placing it upon B, and then that resolved the issue. Here's the film counter, which counts down, so you have to manually set it to 24 or 36 and then it will count down. The button also, when it's depressed, pressed down, allows the film to be rewound into the camera, back into its canister on the left hand side here. There is no mechanism on the base. The only mechanism is to open the back. Let's do that. And so the whole back comes off, and we rotate that, and then we can take the back off, and then we see the inside of our camera. So we place our film in the left hand side here, over and in over the sprockets and into the take-up spool, and then you can see the mechanism working. So let's put that back on. Looking through the viewfinder, it's not particularly bright viewfinder, I have to say, and the patch is still usable, so the rangefinder can still be used, but as I say, it's not a huge viewfinder, but again, compared to the certain cameras of the age, that was very similar. So cold shoe, mentioned that, and straps, lugs for a strap are included. They weren't on the original Lordomat, but this one they are. So there we go, there's a run through of the camera, sorry, the tripod mount on the base, forgot about that. And so that's the camera really. So is it a Leica wannabe? Well, maybe. Certainly is very nicely constructed. Quite a substantial camera in the hand, so that might be something that you like, or not, or you may like a Leica. So this is camera number 452, the Lordomat.